Hey everyone, welcome back to a new episode of AI News, Drama, and Updates. We're starting February off strong with some big stories, so let's go ahead and get started. I wanted to start today by talking about Microsoft. Very briefly, Microsoft, we've talked about it in other videos. They brought in OpenAI powered features into some of their other tools. We've talked about Bing. We've talked about the idea that they're going to put it into Microsoft Office applications. Teams is something that a lot of you may have had experience with, especially in a work from home environment. While Teams may not be everyone's favorite service the way that it stands right now, maybe some of these OpenAI powered features can help turn that around. Now, if you're unfamiliar with my other videos, I have a pretty open disdain for Bing. I think it's always been useless. I think Microsoft needs to give up on Bing already. It's really tiring to have it continually pushed at us like it's going to be some kind of useful thing that all of a sudden people are going to be like, hey, I didn't use Bing before. I should start using that. It's never going to happen. Give up. At the same time, I do use a lot of other Microsoft services. I definitely use Windows. I definitely use a lot of Office applications. And obviously, they're very important in the world of white collar office environments. So we're constantly seeing a lot of things like Excel, PowerPoint, Word. Those things are obviously going to benefit from new features. So I am looking forward to this new world of seeing where some of this stuff goes. Microsoft may not necessarily be my favorite company all the time, but I can't take away from them that a lot of their stuff has been incredibly useful, not just now, but in the past as well. It looks like some of the ideas being added are chapters in things like PowerPoint live presentations, timeline markers, things of that nature. I won't go into the exact features, but I will go ahead and leave a link in the description here if you want to check it out and go a little bit deeper for yourself. While this might come as a surprise to a lot of you, despite how I feel about Microsoft and Bing, they're going to continue to push it anyway. So another update to Bing, a faster version of ChatGPT in the coming weeks. I still don't think people are going to start using Bing, but hey, you never know, right? We'll see. Now, keep in mind that the ChatGPT that we're familiar with, the one that we've been most commonly using, the one that you've seen a ton of examples from, most everything you've seen has come from GPT-3. According to the article here at TechCrunch, the main difference between the ChatGPTs 3 and 4 is speed. So hopefully, as we see ChatGPT 4 in general just become more and more commonplace, we can look forward to faster response times and potentially better and more honed responses overall, which is something that they've been working on consistently. As we segue into ChatGPT as a whole, like we talked about in our last video, a lot of people bring Google into the mix when it comes to ChatGPT conversations. Will this eventually replace Google? As I said before, I don't believe so. I think Google has a lot of tricks up its sleeve, and we're going to be hearing about those probably very soon. And the word on the street is Google management asked the Lambda team to basically just focus on a ChatGPT competitor. So this is what we're hearing so far. More to come. There may be some coming out very, very shortly, but that's just rumors for now. Like we talked about in the last video, they have a big scheduled presentation coming up midway through the year, and that is where we're probably likely to hear about the big official releases of anything coming up. Now, a lot of people, of course, aren't comfortable waiting that long, and that's why we're seeing so much of this. ChatGPT is genuinely doing extremely well. I mean, they have surpassed 100 million users. They've launched a new service. Just a week ago, we talked about a $42 price tag that was associated with ChatGPT Professional, which was the new paid version that they came out with. They've already dropped that down to just $20 a month, and I'm assuming they've probably got quite a lot of people who are very interested. This is a very popular thing. This tech has already made a huge splash in what people are able to do, what they've been able to kind of generate and create on their own. It's also made a massive splash in industries like education, where people are able to submit papers, and we can't really tell whether or not they created the ideas themselves. So OpenAI themselves has now released a tool to detect whether or not text was AI generated. And I'm assuming it kind of works backwards to see where something fits along within the model. I'm imagining that this is going to be something you see a lot of public universities pick up right away, because I can imagine that there's going to be a lot of scholastic issues and academic questions already. Switching back over to the subject of Google, you can see kind of the pressure that Google is constantly under with these articles that are always coming out. February 8th is going to be just next week. So if something does happen, if we do hear something, of course, I'm going to be covering it here. But this beyond is it's kind of a fool's hope at this point that that might be the word that, they might elaborate on something coming up. Even the article from Engadget is really doing the heavy lifting with this word, hopefully. And they're really just anticipating that Google is going to say something. There was a public statement made recently by the creator of Gmail saying that ChatGPT is going to overtake Google. And of course, that is not Google's official position. So we're going to have to kind of see where the cards fall. And there have been rumors that the CEO of Google has declared what is called a code red over ChatGPT and the different technologies that have emerged. Likely, like we've talked about here, just the pressures and the public impression of what is going to happen in the future. MusicLM is not something we've talked about here before. It's not actually something that Google has done a lot of talking about, but apparently Google has an AI that can create music in any genre from a text description. So I'm not sure if this functions similar to Diffusion that we talked about here, which is spectrogram based, or maybe something like Moobert, which is more mathematical and kind of how it constructs the music or the patterns behind it. When I have a chance to dig in, I'll talk maybe a little bit more about it. As more and more information comes out, I'll see what we can see. But in the meantime here, let's switch gears. Let's talk a little bit about some fun AI art stuff that has come out. There is a new form of artistic entertainment where we're seeing AI-based streamers. I've seen a couple of different versions of this now, where the first one was more of a machine learning, how to play video games. It was basically just doing prompt-based text on top of everything. But somebody has actually gone through the effort to create something that is an AI-generated Seinfeld. Essentially, it generates scripts on the fly and performs a live in-person episode of Seinfeld. It's not great. I'm not going to say that it's entertaining or that it fulfills a function. They designed it to do what it does. It doesn't do it in an incredibly entertaining way. I doubt that a lot of people are going to subscribe just to watch what's going to happen next. But it's definitely interesting to see as a demonstration of technology. It's an amazing thing to see.
Why did the chicken cross the playground? To get to the other slide.
There you go.
Hey, don't worry. I'm sure it won't take me that long to come up with some original material.
The name of the channel, in case you're curious, is Watch Me Forever. I'll go ahead and pop a link in the description. I did check it out for a brief moment. I'm not sure, though, how much interaction with the actual chat this particular channel has. The other AI one that I'd looked at, the chat was used to prompt the actual AI. This, I think, kind of runs on its own, does its own thing, and you can kind of observe as it's going. But as time goes on and ideas continue to flow, I'm very curious to see where people go with these new streams that are popping out. Very entertaining. And I have a feeling I'm going to hear about this. So there's definitely been a lot of articles popped up about a PhD student put together a paper showing that if you find specific images within the training data and prompt for those specific images, basically if you know exactly what you're looking for, you can have Stable Diffusion kick out images that it trained on, or something that is a very close facsimile to the original. You can tell these side-by-side images are not exact, but they're exact enough that you can see where one came from, for sure. While this is going to be a big deal and a big talking point for a lot of people, unfortunately, it doesn't really mean much in terms of the future. The genie is already out of the bottle in terms of being able to train on specific data. The models that these specific examples were based on have already been publicly released, and those won't be unreleased. You can't do that. Stability has already addressed this specific issue for Stable Diffusion 3.0 and things like that are going to be coming up in the future. So if people are going to use this talking point for things like lawsuits and stuff like that, I'm really not sure where it's going to go. We're going to have to kind of see what happens. My first instinct would have been to think that these are images that aren't exactly common, where you'd be prompting for something that was maybe one or two examples that were trained in the entirety of the model. But seeing some of the examples pop up, like the Netflix logo, George R.R. Martin, Prince, these are major names. These are things that we shouldn't be able to easily recreate with diffusion technology. So it may come down to the specific model. And when it does come down to the specific model, it's going to be a question of if it's Stability AI who did the training on the model, if it was Runway ML who actually owned and comprised the initial model, the Lion database. The concept of memorization when it comes to AI art is going to be an interesting one to deal with, because eventually we will find a technology that allows us to create photorealistic images without using any copyrighted material whatsoever. And I'm very curious to see how artists are going to respond to that. I have a feeling right now copyright is the only thing that they can kind of hold on to when it comes to this is not fair. And I understand that argument, I get it. And for our final story this week, there is something that I debated talking about because it is kind of a touchy subject. There is a large Twitch streamer. His name is Atrioc. I'm sure a lot of people have not heard of him, but he has a very squeaky clean reputation. And by that, I mean, to my knowledge, he hasn't been known for controversy or anything of that nature. And during a public stream, there was a brief moment where he had tabbed out. And in this brief millisecond of time, his screen was leaked. And this is what people saw. And from this, people were able to extrapolate new data. The long and short of this story is that Atrioc was paying to have AI-generated porn, like deepfake pornography of other streamers created for him. And there was a list of names. I'm not necessarily sure if that was the list of names that he was ordering from or if it was just a menu, but he had found some kind of service, and this has obviously became a very, very big controversy. The resulting apology video, as you're seeing here, is one of the most awkward things I've had a chance to ever see. This is his wife sitting behind him as he's explaining the situation. A lot of people that were on that list were actually close friends for not just himself, but also friends of his wife. So it's become a much larger issue that's unfortunately, it's brought AI to the forefront for the wrong reasons. So I did want to address it, talk about what it actually took place, and of course, new developments in the story, if there are any, I'll cover it here. I don't want to delve too deeply into the actual material or anything that's completely insensitive. I have a lot of respect for a lot of the streamers that were listed on that list. Like I said, I was highly debating whether or not I should even cover this story when I saw the torch was taken up by a lot of huge YouTubers that have already kind of touched on this story, so I figured it was time. And while that might be a weird note to end it on, that will be the note that I ended on for today. I do appreciate those of you who have been here with me today, and those of you who stop by week to week. Make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't already, and as always, thanks for watching.